Big day for Swifties out there. Good morning, everybody. I'm Aaron Gilchrist, in for Joe and Savannah, and we begin this morning in Washington. The Senate expected to once again vote on a plan to reopen the government on day 3 of the federal government shutdown, but it's not expected to move forward as both Republicans and Democrats show little signs of budging on their demands. President Trump has described the shutdown as an unprecedented opportunity to make cuts to federal spending. Yesterday, the president said he would meet with his budget chief to cut what he's calling Democratic agencies. The Energy Department has already announced it's canceling more than $7 billion in projects, most of which are in Democrat-led states. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of federal workers bracing for weeks without pay, and they're now also facing potential layoffs after White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said yesterday that it is likely the government could shed workers by the thousands. NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard is standing by with more on President Trump's plans. But we begin with Julie Sirkin in Washington for us, watching things on the Hill. Julie, good morning. We know this is the third day beginning now of this shutdown. What have the effects of the shutdown been so far?
Yeah, well, Aaron, good morning to you. It'll really take until next week, I think, for a lot of these effects to crystallize for millions of Americans. If you're a federal worker, you've already noticed those emails, those signs and notices on agency websites, essentially blaming Democrats for the shutdown. And also, you'll notice that you're going to miss a paycheck soon. But if you're not in the federal workforce, there are still a ton of government services that now that the government shut down will impact you. For example, food assistance. I'm told checks will stop going out to women, infant and children who qualify for that program as soon as next week. If you're a tourist and you're trying to see the sites, whether you're in Pennsylvania or you're in D.C., you're going to a national park, you might see closed signs like the ones on your screen. So this is really having practical effects on millions of Americans. And by the way, the workers that are working without a paycheck, like at the airport, the TSA agents, you're going to give yourself more time if you're looking to do some travel there, Aaron.
You know, Julie, we have the administration threatening the spending cuts, layoffs potentially, but Democrats do appear to be standing by their demands for health care concessions. That's what they want from Republicans. What have you heard about why this is such a sticking point for Democrats?
Yeah, so it's policy and politics. As always, you cannot get out of D.C. without talking about politics. I'll start with that one. Look, for Democrats, health care has always been a winning issue, and so there's at this one right now. But practically, the administration already made significant cuts in their partisan bill earlier this summer on health care. And so Democrats really see this as their one shot to fight back. They are in the minority in the Senate and the House. Of course, they don't hold the White House either. So their only power lies within the power of the purse. And that's exactly why they're pitching this fight over government funding. At stake here is the Affordable Care Act, subsidies the Democrats expanded during COVID that will expire at the end of this year. Republicans don't like the way they were structured, but the reality is that even in red states, premiums could spike as much as 114% for people using that program. So this is a very real fight for Democrats, and they're saying we can't have this fight in November and December. People are picking out their plans in the next few weeks.
Well, we know it's not really uncommon, right, for politicians on opposite sides to do the finger pointing at each other over some of these issues. We also know the Education Department has employees there who this week were surprised while they're furloughed to find that their emails were automatically changed to sort of choose a side in this, right? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I'm not sure I've seen this, especially in the last shutdown in 2019. Under the first Trump administration, it lasted nearly 35 days. But now, even 48 hours after the government was shut down, you see those notices, like I mentioned at the top, on agency websites blaming, quote, the radical left for the shutdown. Those employees that you mentioned at the Department of Education, of course, many of them furloughed, some of them who are not essential, not working, they notice their out-of-office emails automatically updated without their knowledge to blame Democrats for the shutdown. The administration is looking to make this extremely painful for Democrats who they blame for the shutdown, even though, of course, Democrats are demanding those health care provisions. Republicans, at the end of the day, are offering a clean extension of current government funding levels. There are no, quote unquote, poison pills in that bill. And so in this case, of course, you see the White House trying to make this as painful and damaging as possible, trying to let the American people know that this is not our fault, the Republicans who are in charge. It is the Democrats' fault. Why? Because shutdowns are never popular for any political party, no matter who causes it.
So,
Aaron?
Quickly before I let you go, Julie, we mentioned earlier that 2 Senate votes are scheduled. What are we expecting there? What do the numbers need to look like to actually get something passed?
Well, unfortunately, unless there's going to be some kind of miracle, because lawmakers, senators were out of town yesterday for the holiday, they're coming back today to take up once again a vote on the Democratic proposal that'll temporarily fund the government for about 4 weeks and include about $1 trillion in health care spending, something Republicans made very clear they are not going for at this juncture. And then they'll vote on the Republican plan, that clean extension of government funding levels for 7 weeks. Both of those votes are expected to fail in the Senate. Here's the thing. The House already passed their Republican plan. They're not back until Monday. Speaker Johnson staying strong, trying to keep his members away from the Capitol to make sure that they could force the Republican plan in that chamber. In the Senate, however, John Thune, the Republican leader, needs 5 more Democrats to join Republicans to pass it. So far, they were able to break off 3. Again, they need 5 more. No indication that's going to happen today.
All right, we'll be watching to see what, if anything, does happen. Julie Sirkin for us in Washington. Thank you. Let's get more on the shutdown now with NBC News White House correspondent here in the studio with us. So, Vaughn, we know that the president is going to meet with his budget director, Russ Vought, later on today. They're going to talk about what programs, what jobs to cut. What more do you know about what that meeting is going to be and what may be on the chopping block?
Right. As Julie just outlined there, Russ Vought, as OMB director, has openly suggested that they're going to seek to cut funding to certain projects. He has threatened, for example, some green energy projects in 16 different Democratic-led states. He has threatened funding to infrastructure projects here in the state of New York, but has also talked about the potential of these mass firings across federal agencies. And so for the president, he has already suggested that he is going to empower Russ Vought to be able to do that, but he has suggested that the two men are going to meet to be able to come up with some of those specifics here. And so this is the big question. You have seen deference even from Speaker Mike Johnson. It's going to be a subjective decision by the OMB director. This is Donald Trump's White House really trying to take an executive branch and empower it while the legislative branch down the road in Congress is unable to come to terms with funding the government.
So it could be a painful swipe for a lot of folks. I want to ask you about a couple other things while I have you here. We know the administration sent this memo to Congress yesterday saying that the U.S. was now in, quote, armed conflict with drug cartels, right? We know this comes a couple of weeks after there were some strikes on at least 3 boats from Venezuela that the administration said were allegedly carrying drug traffickers. What exactly does this designation from this administration mean at this point?
Once again, there are a lot of legal questions here, but that didn't stop the administration from moving forward with this, right? This essentially puts drug cartels in the same level as Al-Qaeda or ISIS as terrorist organizations. And the administration is using this designation not just to justify the strikes that we are apparently saying here on these 3 Venezuelan boats. There's still a lot of unanswered questions from the military and from the White House about exactly who were on these ships here. But this would also call into question the intent of the military here moving forward. There's been considerations, for example, about strikes within Venezuela. We should note, though, Democrats and some Republicans have aggressively pushed back against the White House, saying that this is a law enforcement issue, drug trafficking, drug cartels, not a military one, and it is up to Congress to authorize military strikes, and that has not happened here in this situation.
All right, so we'll see what the next shoe is to drop on this one. I want to ask you about this new survey that's out. We know that President Trump's second term, his return to the White House, was really driven by younger voters who supported him in pretty significant numbers. There's a new focus group, and the results come from some of these younger voters. It's out today. What have they got to say so far about this second term?
Right. If you go back in 2024, now President Trump, he increased his share of young voters, 18 to 29, by almost 12 percentage points. And young men, he actually beat Kamala Harris, gaining half of their support. And so this is where the big question here is, 1 year out, where does their support, how do they feel about this administration? In this focus group conducted by NBC News with 2 research firms, one of the moderators from those research firms suggested that there is some frustration among some of these young men that either President Trump has gone too far, for example, on tariffs and immigration, but others saying that he hasn't gone far enough with, for example, ending these wars overseas or releasing of the Epstein files there. And these are 14 Trump voters, young Trump voters there, that have said that they question their vote, not necessarily that they would support Democrats in the future or that it's a better alternative in their mind, but there is still some soft support for the president here after there are questions about some of the campaign commitments that he made. And here in 2025, the lack of reality on several of those fronts.
All right, we'll get another flavor for how they're feeling a little bit later on in the administration. Vaughn Hillier, we appreciate you. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
And speaking of the shutdown, the FDA quietly approved the generic form of mifepristone right before it began. Mifepristone is one of 2 drugs used in most abortions in this country. The combination induces abortions. The new approval marks the 2nd generic version on the market. The first was cleared back in 2019. The FDA did not put out a press release on this decision, and it comes less than 2 weeks after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the agency would look into the medication's safety. In some developing news overnight, a massive fire broke out at the Chevron oil refinery in El Segundo, California, just south of Los Angeles. Take a look at the video here. You can see that large plume of black smoke, the big flames in the air there. Multiple fire departments working to fight the flames here overnight, which are now contained. It's still unclear, though, how that fire started. Neighbors, though, tell NBC Los Angeles they heard a loud bang before seeing. Chevron says no injuries and all refinery personnel and first responders have been accounted for. That refinery is the largest on the West Coast. It supplies about 20% of all motor vehicle fuel and 40% of the jet fuel consumed in Southern California. Another soggy start in parts of the southeast today. We have the details on the wet weather there and a look at the weekend with your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joining us for a look at that. Hey, Michelle, good to see you.
Good to see you, Aaron. Always good to see you on a Friday, especially. And yeah, we're looking very soggy in the southeast, not only today, but also tomorrow into Sunday. So you may want to make those indoor plans, especially in Florida, because we're looking at the chance for some very heavy rainfall, some thunderstorms, some gusty winds, and localized flooding, especially along the east coast of Florida. So we're looking at flood alerts stretching from places like Fort Pierce to Melbourne, down to Daytona Beach, or up to Daytona Beach. And this is why we have the remnants of Melda coming on shore, and that's going to be in place not only today, but through Sunday. So heavy rain targeting the Sunshine State. Moisture funnels in from the Atlantic, and when it does that, it has a lot of ample moisture with it, and that's why we're looking at the chance for some localized. See those darker colors kind of spinning into the state. That's where we're going to see the heaviest amounts of rain. So additional rainfall on Saturday, too. Moving onshore, we're going to see that flood threat continuing on those saturated grounds, leading to more localized flooding. And then as we near Sunday, we're looking at the chance for some heavy rain. We're looking at the chance for localized flash flooding, some gusty thunderstorms also. So the active pattern does continue all weekend long. And we're looking at high rainfall totals here. We're looking at 2 to 5 inches likely, but even higher than that in some spots, 6 to 8, especially where you see those darker colors. Notice it's not just Florida by the weekend through Sunday. We're looking along the Gulf Coast too. So that includes New Orleans, places like Pensacola, Jacksonville, also in the mix for some very heavy rainfall. That's one big weather story today. Also, another big weather story is feeling like summer in many spots in the plains, into the upper Mississippi Valley, the Great Lakes. We're going to break a lot of records. So where you see those red dots, that's where we're looking at the chance for some records falling. That includes 12 different states. So really warm out there. We have a big area of high pressure bringing in that warmth, and we're looking at temperatures soaring into the 80s, into the 90s. That's about 15 to 30 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. You notice that jet stream, it's lifted so far to the north, kind of closing off any cooler air coming down from Canada. And temperatures will soar into the upper 80s in Minneapolis. That's 24 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. I know we're ready for the pumpkin spice, the pumpkin donuts, the fall-like weekends, but it's going to feel like summer in many, many spots. Wichita 87, 12 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. That heat extends into portions of New England too. So temperatures into the 70s today, into the 80s. Tomorrow, that's about 12 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. We think you're going to top out right around 81. Lots of upper 80s on the map. Once again, tomorrow near 90 degrees in some spots, 87 tomorrow in Oklahoma City, 91 degrees in San Antonio. And Aaron, we're going to see this warm weather extend into next week, where the northern plains, we're going to fall back into those fall-like temperatures, but the heat kind of does hold on for many days to come. Back to you.
Yeah, summer just doesn't want to let go yet. It'll stick around for a little bit longer. Michelle, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, in just a few hours, disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs will be sentenced in a courtroom here in New York City for 2 federal prostitution-related convictions. Now, prosecutors are asking for more than 11 years in prison, but Combs' attorneys are asking for just 14 months. Now, if that happens, since he's already been in jail for about 13 months, he could be released as early as November. And overnight, Combs wrote the judge a letter apologizing to his accusers, including ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and pleading for mercy. NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos is joining us now to talk a little bit more about this. So, Danny, I do want to start with the sentence we're talking about here, right? Prosecutors looking for 11 years in federal prison. The defense attorneys are pushing basically for time served at this point. A big gap here. How much wiggle room does the judge really have in making a sentencing decision, and what would you expect to happen in court today?
Short answer, there's a lot of wiggle room, and there are no mandatory minimums involved here. Combs's team beat the charges that carried mandatory minimum sentences, so the judge has tremendous discretion here. And federal sentencing is a strange place. Here's why. There are these complex federal sentencing guidelines that you're supposed to plug in all the factors of a particular conviction, and then it spits out a sentencing range in months. But this is a great example. You can see how each side calculates them dramatically differently. One side, the defense says, well, no, this should only be 14 months. The prosecution says, not only should this be 11 years, we actually think it should be 20 years, the statutory maximum for these sentences. And ever since 2005, the Supreme Court said these sentencing guidelines are not mandatory. So a situation where the judge is going to calculate them, and then he doesn't have to follow them. He can just go with his gut. And my feeling is the judge has revealed slightly that his gut feeling is that this is a more serious case than the defense suggests. So I would look for a sentence of something more than what Diddy's team is asking for, but less than the 11 years.
Can you give us an idea of what other or what bigger points a judge might consider in making a decision like this? Are we going to hear from some of the victims in court today?
Yes, you will. And you're likely going to hear from Sean Diddy Combs himself. Although the choice whether or not to allocute for the defendant himself to address the court is always a difficult one. And candidly, most of the time, it's not a good idea. Defendants are simply not well equipped to explain to the judge or convey to the judge their remorse. They often make mistakes, like, for example, focusing on how this conviction has affected me and it's made my life worse. You should not do that to a judge. Instead, victims, show concern for your victims. The problem is most defendants are so self-interested, they're just not very good at allocution. So I think what Diddy's team did as a compromise is submit a letter. Whether or not he actually speaks today, I'm not entirely sure he will. He may have already spoken, and I use that in air quotes, with the letter he submitted to the court yesterday.
Well, let me ask you about this letter, right? The letter to the judge where Combs says that he's been humbled and broken to his core. We talk about the victim impact statements, and we know the value and the import that those have in a courtroom setting. But bearing this letter in mind, how effective do you think a letter like this could be in swaying the judge's sentencing decision?
I've never put a lot of stock in letters because if you're a well-heeled defendant, you can get letters from senators, from priests, from all these different people. But most people who are economically disadvantaged, they don't know any influential people to write letters on their behalf. That being said, Combs's defense team has done a very good job with these letters, including from inmates saying that Combs has tutored them. They've done an excellent job. And when you have someone with Combs' resources, you try to get a lot of letters. Here's the thing. That letter Combs wrote, I'd be willing to bet Combs had very little to do with writing that letter. It's probably $50,000 worth of attorney's fees, of eyes looking at that he talks about the abuse, admitting to the abuse. That's very key because he was not charged with abuse. He's charged with other crimes. And that's the tightrope that defendants walk. Do you show remorse? But if you do, you might affect your ability to claim I'm innocent on appeal.
All right. We know you'll be watching to see exactly what happens today. Danny Savalos, we appreciate it. The pastor who once led one of the biggest churches in the country pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a young girl in the 1980s. His admission yesterday comes after an NBC News investigation helped bring the allegations of abuse to light. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson has more and a warning. Some of the details are disturbing.
Thank you, Jesus, for
the man who once led one of the largest congregations in America, walking into an Oklahoma courthouse, pleading guilty to sexually abusing an underage girl.
This has taken my entire lifetime to get here.
That girl was Cindy Clemishire, now 55. Inside the courtroom, delivering a message to her abuser through tears, as Gateway Church founder Robert Morris admitted to 5 felony counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child in the 80s.
People need to know who he is, that he came into our home as a pedophile, disguised as a preacher.
The abuse began on Christmas night in 1982, Cindy says, when she was 12 and Morris 21. It continued for years. a secret Cindy kept until 1987 when she told her parents and church leaders, and for the first time last year, shared publicly.
He started by touching my breast and putting his hands in my pants.
Decades passed. Morris grew into an evangelical powerhouse, even serving on President Trump's Spiritual Advisory Council, at times alluding to past transgressions in his sermons.
Sexual temptation is an appetite of the flesh, and I developed an appetite before I was saved.
His sins that NBC News reported on last year, now officially crimes. Morris handed a 10-year sentence, though he will only serve 6 months in a county jail as part of the negotiated plea deal. He will also have to register as a sex offender and pay $250,000 in restitution.
There is hope to come out of shame and to be whole again. And that's my hope for me, my hope for other victims, and even for Robert.
For this survivor, justice decades delayed, but no longer denied. Priscilla Thompson, NBC News.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.